Welcome, folks. It's Gordo here from Gordo's Games, and we are back here for a first time review. First time doing this kind of review for first Berserker khazan. Now, I haven't spent enough time on this platform overall compared to other ones, and I thought I'd try and bring something back to the channel a little bit more. So we are going to be starting doing some reviews of some of the games that we do speedrun here. So a little context of who I am. My name is Gordo's Games. I stream on Twitch primarily. You can catch me on there like most days of the week. You'll also see most of my speedruns that get uploaded on here as I go along because I am a speedrunner, challenge runner, variety game streamer. I play majority of things. If I feel like it could be a fun run, I will do so. I predominantly go for very chilled out vibes and a very relaxed runner. I make that my kind of etiquette overall to be that far too relaxed guy when doing things. But this game is one of the games that I got involved with and also mod for. Not mod as in make mods, but I am the mod on speedrun.com for this game overall, and I wanted to share my views on it. So let's go ahead and check out the first Berserker khazan, and if you do enjoy the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you know when this content goes live for you. And if you have any suggestions of what games you'd like to see me review or what you'd like to see me run, leave a comment down below. So let's start off by talking about the combat system. So the first Berserker khazan is broken up into 3 different skill trees for 3 different weapons. So you have the concept of dual wield, greatsword, and spear. With all these, they have their own unique way of fighting. Dual wield is, I guess you would assume, your more balanced weapon, and average between the two. Your greatsword is your powerhouse, good at dealing heavy damage, can potentially look to stagger with their attacks and knock back. And then your spear is effectively your stamina damage, because how the fights do break down this is your opponents will always have like a form of stamina bar. There's 2 different stamina bars. One is the generally white one, which will refill if you stop attacking your opponent, it will start to refill, similar to what ours would be when we're using attacks. And another one is like I guess we'll call it a break gauge. It's a purple one where it's like it gets to the point once you reach 0, it then breaks them. So you can do something like a riposte for those who played Elden Ring, or just do some heavy damage. The spear itself is very good for stamina damage and things like that. So it is one that you can use to potentially look to stun lock enemies. So it's a very fast-paced, moving one. Some of your more typical abilities are ones like this, which is called trance. And we look to use this quite regularly. You've got spiral thrust, so there's a nice variation of things overall. When it comes to the greatsword, except we have the more heavy attacking weapons. So using a greatsword itself, you've got high damage impact moves like that, which will look to knock back or take a stagger. Again, same there. And overall, this is the theme itself. When you are with the greatsword, there is multiple parry timings to learn because you have your normal parry, but then you also have where's it gone? When you can't find something you're talking about. Okay. There's also another parry whilst you're trying to do some of your heavy attacks, which will then allow you to continue doing your attacks through. So the greatsword does require a bit of skill when using, but overall is a very rewarding weapon to use overall. And then we've got dual wield. Dual wield is, as I said, a mixture of both. It can be quite heavy in impact damage, but it also has a little bit of flair to it with some of the moves you use. Things like Wind Pierce there, where you will throw the weapon at them and then you'll kind of dash towards it afterwards. You've got your get-in attacks, like Breeze Dash, where you would dash right into them, and then you've got your like more frenzy style things. So it is broken up into a few different characteristics when you look at the weapons, and there is a large selection for you to kind of go through. But let's have a look at the actual combat system in effect. Moving over to one of our boss fights here. Now, just to let you advise, there is a little bit of spoilers with this. So if you haven't completed the game, maybe go complete the game, then come back and then tell me what you think. So taking a look at one of our boss fights here, as I said, spoilers are including this, so you will see some bosses you may have not seen in the early part of the game, but we're currently fighting one of the bosses called Shak Tucker here. Now I'm probably butchering the name in every single aspect, and that is okay. I will disclaim these are all fights were created by me, so do not expect anything perfect. I'm a speedrunner, okay? I'm not a perfection runner. But you can see the level of detail in the fights themselves. It's forms like a sort of Sekiro with a parry system involved with it. You've got your riposte, like I said, with the Elden Ring aspect. The spear in particular, like I said, it's very fluent, very agile. It's looking to do a lot of damage overall, mainly towards the concept of the break bar on this one. So as I said, there's two different bars, one being the white bar, which is for like stamina, this one being the break bar. So once that purple gauge all the way down, he will then break for us to go down the route to riposte. But we are doing this here, whereas we can use things like shadow reversal to get in behind them, which allows us to deal more damage, because you can optimally look to change up your build to work in line with that. So in instances whereas like you want to build heavy into rear damage to them, or frontal damage, or just heavy stamina damage, these are things you can build into to try and make your builds as prominent as possible. The overall boss fights are engaging. They are difficult at first glance. Once you get used to them, they can be a little bit more forgiving, but I feel like the developers in this game are doing enough to try and make that not the case overall. They have recently released, with this review being in place, an ultimate challenging mode, and obviously changed up some of the difficulties in the game to give you more of a challenge playing through it. And I feel like it does add enough to keep the game engaging for either newer players or people who have been playing the game previously. So overall, combat system, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10 on the combat side alone. Overall, great game, well designed, and the combat system just feels fluent and feels fun, and it's just what you need. Now let's move on to the story. The story for the first Berserker Khazan overall is formed around Khazan himself, the great general, and obviously his friend Ozma. There was a form of mutiny within the story itself. Khazan was deemed as a traitor, had his tendons cut, and was, as you can see here in the scene, being transported away. Now, in this time, the Blade Phantom, who you come to see in the story itself, wanted to take control of Khazan's body, which is what they attempt to do at the start of it, but Khazan is not willing to give it up. Kind of reminds me of the, for those who have ever watched The Crow, that kind of S gets set for not coming back, almost coming back from the dead, I guess. So that kind of S to the story. It's overall a very well driven story. A lot of it's fundamentally around his relationship with the people that you come across throughout the game. They're all people that have either he's lost or friends, and they've all gone through hardships and not exactly how he left them overall. I would give this story an 8 out of 10. It was a good story, but it did leave me wanting more. So I mean, in the hopes they'll boost some DLC to follow it, great, that'd be fantastic. I'd like just a little bit more added to the story, just to kind of spice it up a little bit more, or even a follow up of the second game, which would be great. I think for a first time Souls-like game for the developers, they did a fantastic job. But if you could compare it to some of the games that came out this year, like for example Expedition 33, it did need just that little bit extra just to get it over that marker. The character development, there wasn't really much in it for the character overall. There was some relationship between the Blade Phantom, but that was really it. I think that's the kind of thing that was missing. There was no real character development. There was just relationships as they go, and seeing bits and pieces of Khazan's life throughout. So an 8 out of 10 for me. Still overall a very, very good game and a good story. Definitely worth the playthrough. Well, our closing thoughts here now. So, the first Berserker Khazan, overall an amazing game. There is room for improvement, but from a developer this is their first Souls-like game, I'm perfectly okay with everything they've delivered. The story is great. Maybe some more could be added into it, absolutely. The combat system's great. The overall graphics and cosmetics of the game, aesthetically very pleasing. The anime style really sold it for me personally. Might not be for everybody, but it really sold it for me personally. The soundtrack was amazing. You can really get into grips with the game itself, particularly in this fight itself. And if you haven't checked out the soundtrack, you should look to do so. But yeah, for me, you should definitely look to consider trying this, and if you do ever look to play the Khazan and you do ever want to consider speedrunning it, you can check out my VODs here on the channel for it, or you can join the speedrun Discord. I will leave all links in the description. But that's going to be enough from hearing my voice. You can all enjoy the fight. So if you do enjoy the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And if you do have any feedback on how you prefer these videos to be done going forward, please let me know. This is my first time doing it, and of course it could always be done better, but anyway, that's going to happen is if you give me some ideas as to what you'd like to see. So until then, from Gordo's Games, peace out, enjoy the fight.
Reese! There is no way to save her now, mortal.